Hello there, Bravehearts, Urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters, and welcome to Day 3's installment of the 90-day journey to heartfulness. This segment is brought to you by the quote by Miss Wan from The Wiz. Count your blessings, cut your losses, and follow the yellow brick road. As well as a conversation that I had with JoJo yesterday. So he came over to visit with my stepmom and dad, with my stepmom and my dad and my stepmom. Wait, that sounded kind of weird. And we had a chance to um, unpack some things around the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, as well as Dr. Joy DeGrew's Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, the study guide. And when I handed him both of those books, I also gave him a prepared composition book ready to capture all of his notions and sentiment around the content that he would be visiting with. It was a quite enlightening visit. He broke some things down. I had a chance to serve as a student, and it was wonderful. It was incredibly revealing to the sprucing up of the way I see and perceive certain things. With that said, I have a few, uh, what can I say? Just a few, um, for for today's installment. We're remembering from yesterday's installment. What if all of your mistakes, mistakes, errors, shortcomings, so-called failures, disappointments, unmet expectations, what if they were all divinely timed and ordered? And with Saturn going direct on Tuesday, the 18th, and I think in one of my other recordings, I might have said, yeah, that it was going direct on the 6th. I'm not sure where I got that bit of information from, but after digging a little deeper and comparing sources, it definitely goes direct. Not even on Tuesday, it goes direct Wednesday on the 18th. And me being a Capricorn sun, there's some major things unfolding. Um, Especially now that I'm dealing with the residue of the full moon in Pisces. But I'm noticing from others who share um, self expression as well as give commentary around the influences and energies around the stars and the moon and the sun and planetary alignment. It's quite different. I'm experiencing this energy in quite a different way, unless it has more to bestow upon me. And so, with that in mind, I'm not going to speak much more about it because I may still be in the midst of it not being finished with me yet. So, we are going to officially usher in this installment with the reminder of the serendipitous serenity prayer, the I am, granting us the peace that gains the serenity to accept the things that cannot be readily changed, plus the intelligence to know that courage may be replenished whenever it's called upon, plus the wisdom to decode and decipher the differences, as they too are just beyond the proper inquiry. Greetings and salutations, mahogany ancestors, gods and goddesses of divine trifecta intervention. Me and my fellow Bravehearts, Urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters have joined along this journey to heartfulness. Please ignite and activate our clarity plus curiosity so that we may know the truth by the way that it feels, especially when it resonates with our highest good of uniqueness and wholehearted individuality. I thank you kindly for my tender transparency and my authentic expression during these moments. Please tune me into the frequency of your heart feelings so that I may sense the clues and cues needed to accurately interpret this amazingly phenomenal big picture as it connects us to our 6 degrees of story, community closeness, and divine timing. Thank you again, my love team. The Coach Mad Hatters University and Radio Coaching Conclave is now in session. Ashe. We have some things to discuss. And I'm going to kick it off by saying that from day to day, I have no idea what type of emotional stance I am going to be in. And yet I have committed to recording. I may not record every single day of these 90 days, but I have um, given into being devoted to chronicling, chronicling and sharing throughout this journey. Not sure exactly how much detail from day to day I'm going to provide, but I'm leaving it up to the energies of the day. This is an effort to get me used to not relying so much on my need for predictability. Seeing if I may challenge myself outside of my comfort zone when it comes to certain things that I expect, as well as put some achievements on the board um, to enrich my areas of follow through and accountability. And even with that said, I have no idea. I have no idea. I just know that I am on a journey to heartfulness. And I figured, well, no, I didn't even figure. The notion, the notion came to me to have this be an installment for the Coach Mad Hatter's uh, YouTube landing. So here we are. Yesterday's conversation entailed several different topics. Um, Many names were brought to the surface. Dr. Joy DeGruy and the study guide was definitely a core chunk of it, as well as the anticipation of David Banner's podcast. We both are waiting on that, um, as well as the desire to have more of these types of conversations to include my two sons, my daughter, my baby sister, a few of my nephews. Maybe JoJo will have a friend or two. But we're looking forward to unpacking some things. And so he was due to receive the richest man in Babylon from me from our last conversation. And even though we talked about the study guide, um, the post traumatic slave syndrome study guide, I actually handed it to him so that he could flip through it. And during that conversation, it was for him to read the first 5 pages and just give some preview to the content. And so the notebook that accompanied these two books, simple composition book with the index card written in front that told him that he was involved in self-study as well as a Coach Mad Hatter's research and development project. Now, even though the notebook will remain his, I don't have any claims to what he put inside the notebook. Just for him to have an understanding, a firm understanding that the journey itself is so that we can converse. I am on a quest. I'm the number 7. I am the seeker. So I am always on some type of intellectual adventure. And right now, we are populating the intellectual gallery for CMHU, Coach Matt Hatter's Underland University and Radio. Underland University and Radio. Underland University and Radio. Underground Railroad. We are gaining the momentum of setting the intrapersonal parts of people free through the dynamic components of knowing thyself, reclaiming one's pen, telling one's story, cultivating one's Sankofa enlightenment, coaching by story, sharpening one's sword through the thing that I call AMC VPs and now T, which is arts, music, craft, vocation, poetic justice, and tarot treasures. So this installment's theme is the playlist that I have on Spotify that I put together months ago. And we're just putting it together mainly of all the songs that I like in no specific order. And I say that right now because further along into this installment, you'll see why. But I put it together with just off of the hunch of as it popped up in my mind, I added it to the playlist. The link to the playlist I will put in the keynotes. And the name of the playlist is I Butterfly Effects 101. The first 13 songs of this Songversation playlist, I had the hunch last night to attach the numbers of the life path archetypes. So I matched the archetype with the song and still did not realize what was actually unfolding when I got the hunch to do that. What's going to be remarkable about this experience, which will serve as your homework meaning your heart chakra assignment, the assignment that will do your heart chakra some good. That's what home is where the heart is. That's any homework assignment that originates from here 9 times out of 10. It's going to be dealing with the golden enlightenment of your heart fullness, your cup. It's time. It's high time. It's high time that your cup runneth over through the efforts of your own good. 13 songs. From 1 to 9 is the um, chief archetypes, and then 10 to 13 are the master numbers associated with the archetypes. And so here's the rundown. So the life path archetype number 1 is the leader. The song selection number 1 is Do Your Own Thing by Mayamuna Youssef. Number 2 archetype is the mediator. Number 2 song selection is Work in Progress by Mayamuna Youssef. Number 3 is the communicator. Number 3 songversation selection is Not Ready Yet by Mayamuna Youssef. And Mayamuna Youssef is spelled Maimounayoussef. Yes, she is on YouTube. She is partnered up with DJ Dummy, and they have a group called Vintage Babies. VintageBabies.com is where they hang out. You'll be able to find all of the information you need surrounding Team Moo Fresh if you are not already familiar. So, yes, number 3, life path archetype is the communicator. Number 3, songversation selection is Not Ready Yet. Number 4 is the teacher. Number 4 song selection is Never Bring Me Down by Mayamuna Youssef. Number 5 is the freedom seeker. Number 5 song selection is Good Fight by Mayamuna Youssef. Number 6 is the nurturer. Number 6 songversation is Shine Your Light by Mayamuna Youssef. Number 7 is the seeker. Number 7 songversation selection is Caught My Eye by Mint Condition. Number 8 is the powerhouse. Number 8 song selection is Sing to Me by Eric Benet. Number 9 archetype is the humanitarian. Number 9 song selection is Femininity by Eric Benet. Now the master numbers. Master number 11 is Songversation number 10, which is Knock Me Off My Feet by Stevie Wonder. Master number archetype 22 is the number 11 Songversation, Count Your Blessings by Nas and Damian Jr. Gong Marley, which is Bob Marley's son. Master number 33 is Songversation Selection number 12, which is Love's in Need of Love Today by Stevie Wonder. Master number archetype 44, song selection number 13, which is Saturn by Stevie Wonder. When I say I have never rearranged the order of the song selections. They are the same as they've been from when I originally made up the playlist. To have this hunch come through and say, pair up the life path archetypes with the first 13 selections of this playlist, as well as knowing that the number 13 is just is something with me and the number 13. It blew my senses. It almost short circuited. Yeah, it almost short circuited my peace because I was just like, whoa, like what's good? So I'm still pondering with the information, but even just knowing my number 7, knowing my life path as the number 7 being the seeker and loving Mint Condition as well as their song Caught My Eye, because that's all about the seeker. Like we're always bopping along and something catch our eye. So now I know that I am going to go back and specifically listen to that song as if my life path archetype is speaking to me and see what it's all about. Yeah, see what's popping, see what's good. So I invite you to, if you have not already, go and calculate your life path number. Inside the keynotes will be the link to the archetypal summaries. Click on it, pull out all that resonates, whether it's affirming or confirming what you already know about yourself, even if it's introducing. Like we said in the installation prayer, we are looking to know the truth by the way that it feels. If it resonates, appreciate. Spend some time with that summary. And just let me say, it's not an all-inclusive summary, and it is not to box you in any some kind of way, nor is it in to usher in this thing called luck or unluck. You are merely there to catch a glimpse of yourself in print. Pull out what applies. As I was telling my baby sister not too long ago, just a few hours ago, when we were talking about her sun, moon, and rising signs, and how she is to navigate when she do decide to check in with her horoscope, that she has to understand there are millions of Tauruses out here. Just one sentence in that entire horoscope could apply to her. If it resonates, that's the golden key to all of this. If it resonates. Sometimes I get so baffled about how my club of tarot teachers always have to disclose if it resonates, people, to the point where it agitates me sometimes because it's like they shouldn't even have to say that. Like we should sit before their videos like classes in session. Self Studies 101. You're looking to gather information that will help you better tap in, tune in, turn on. You are not there to criticize and critique and vilify. That's not what you're there for. At least that's what I'm hoping you're not there for. I'm getting so much feedback about why your comments not on. If folks literally showed up to speak about the content at hand, wouldn't have no problem. But people messy. They sloppy with their commentary. I digress. So also inside our conversation yesterday, um, and let me just say real quick, shout out to Maverick, my oldest son, and J Rock, my youngest son, my baby sister Wit, my nephew Dude, my nephew Rufus, my nephew Randolph. I love you, babies. Like it truly was one of those things where it was like, dang, man, if they was here, I know we'd be having a hoot of a conversation right now. My daughter BB. So, if it at all provokes you to find out about your life path archetypal characteristics, as well as tune into the conversation selection that is adjacent, by all means, do so. I think the divine has a specific message waiting there for you. And remember, we're talking in individuality and highly unique circumstances where you could be missing the entire elephant because you are focused on just the trunk or just the tail or just the right foot or the hind foot. Yeah, like allow some of the things that I invite you to experience as your effort to zoom back so that you may be able to get a glimpse of this amazingly unique creature called self, and that it truly can show up in some of the nooks and crannies of intuitive investigations. Following that hunch was truly a serendipitous moment. And it all came by way of me being primed with that conversation with JoJo. And I'll say shout out to Optimus Prime too. Had a conversation with him on Friday. Such a delight. My baby walked me through recipes and all that kind of stuff. Like I had an incredible few hours on the phone with him. It was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love it when the teacher shows up. I really do. And him and his Mars warrior, yeah. Class was in session and it was delightful. Such a delight. And I will say, even though I have not discussed it with him, he is a master number 11. So he is the mediator times two. Yes, he is. He's the mediator times two. And so the song for station selection for the master number 11 is Knock Me Off My Feet by Stevie Wonder. And so I mean, in no romantic terms, like let's not get this twisted. We're talking about scholarship of self studies. To listen to that song and engage it with the perception that the divine is speaking to you. Now just imagine the divine is speaking to Prime as a master number 11, singing that song. Because what does it say? It says that he is a mediator times two. To say that if this thing that he has in his heart, he actually masters it, like he actually walked this walk and he stayed on his road to whatever it is that he is aiming to achieve, that could very well be part of his theme song pantheon, if you will. As I said earlier, I do all sorts of things with song. And usually I take it out of the girl guy context. Whether it's a guy singing it or a girl singing it, I really do twine in as if it is the energy itself singing it to me. Like if it's in a male voice, then it's the divine masculine singing it. If it's in a female voice, it's in the divine feminine singing it. But it's not in the context of romantic gesture. I elevate it. Unless it's talking about rump shaking and booties all around, yeah, then it is just the earthly thing that it is. But because love is such a omniverse verse, meaning lyrical verse, and once you add melody to it, it can travel all in and out of this space. And I think we'd be doing ourselves an injustice by not allowing our experience with certain lyric and melody to like rise above the physical, close our eyes and absorb it beyond the naked eye. Sometimes I think about the muses of the artist. Because there's so many artists that say, well, I sat down and I started to write it and I had these intentions, but by the time I finished, it had such a more bigger meaning that it truly was beyond me. So if we can have the artist say that that was the experience of the creation of this piece or that piece, why would we not begin to consume it on a more enlightened, more evolutionary, I don't know, experience, encounter, viewpoint, purview, outlook? And you can fill in the blank if none of those words work for you. We are traveling to accumulate our astro alchemical wisdom. We are on either our fool's journey, our Shiro hero's journey, either way, or, because we still are dancing inside the power of and. And if you're anything like me, you are toggling between all three. I'm on a fool's journey, I'm on a Shiro's journey, and I'm on a journey to heartfulness and mindfulness. So yeah, I'm four cornering this thing. Our conversation also tipped into this present presidential series of shenanigans. JoJo broke down something that I didn't think could happen. He actually gave me a different view to the personality platform of the current president. And he had me do something that I very rarely do: remove the emotion, remove the tone, the triggery tone, and stop focusing on that. Stop focusing on the fact that his delivery is whack and he's rude and abrupt. Only focus on the bullet points. Only focus on the bullet points. Pull those out. It was a true sample of if it resonates, appreciate. And only deal with that. Like completely shut out the emotionality triggers. Take away the power of how he say it and only focus on what he's saying. And seeing as that I don't particularly do politics, it was really nice to have him break that down. It was really, really nice to have him break that down. And so what I had him do, and I'm not going to get too far into um, the assignments associated around him um, beginning to explore the richest man in Babylon, but he will be tapping into some efforts of compare and contrast. And I'm the type where I very rarely like to quote um, inside of recollection with regards to a conversation that I've had, unless I say that I'm paraphrasing, because I am one that will quickly say some folks not qualified to quote me, just not qualified. You will have it all messed up. I would prefer for you to say, go speak to her. I know that everybody can't come speak to me per se, but I'm with that with everything. Like I will refer you to the book. I will refer you to the clip. I want you to go and experience it for yourself and then come back and talk to me, because then that means we're on even ground, because you have had a chance to visit with it. I've had a chance to visit with it. It makes the conversation a lot more balanced, because we are, just like Dr. Joy say, we have to take an account of where you are within the conversation. Everybody don't show up at the same place inside the conversation. Some are just hearing about it. Some are just across the threshold. Some have been studying this topic for years. Some are sages to the point where they're comfortable enough with interpreting and intuitively get to give commentary, can intuitively give commentary. And so it all depends on where you enter the conversation. And if I'm speaking about anything that I'm quoting, I will either write down the entire quote. Now, like I said, if I'm in conversation, then I'll send you directly to the source and then tell you to come back and holler at me. With that said, I will say this. because I also been toggling back and forth in my mind to just bring JoJo on the show one time or inside the installment. I hate to want to call it a show, but bring him into this journey so that you can hear for yourself and allow him to break some things down to you. Speaking of which, we had a chit chat about the Breakfast Club, and he really gave me some insight from the producer's seat. He has such a producer's type of mindset. His view is on how to bring all of these components and quilt them together, make it a comfy blanket and such. My son Maverick is like that too. Like he has an eye for certain visuals where he can, yeah. And neither one of them are 30 yet, so it's nice to have that that ear to the streets uh, outlook. It's always nice to have that. For me, it's always nice to have. And so JoJo, so JoJo says that America's present presidents, presidency, the present president did not get into this presidency for principles or policy or progress or procedure or processes. He get yeah, he did not sign up for none of that. It was on his bucket list. It was one of them things that he just wanted to do. Something popped in his mind to say, "You can do this." Yes, you can. And so he went for it. And I hollered because I never had it. Yeah, it's like he a businessman. Like, why would he not want to sit in that seat? Like, after a while, dudes like that become so incredibly full of themselves because anything outside of that reasoning, like, can't explain how it is that America is more focused on her money than she is on her people when her people is the reason why she's able to do it like she do it. And with this hyper out of control attraction for the commercial side of America to thrive while the community side of it go down to shit is so unnerving. It is so unnerving, which is a lesson that I think America is going, yeah, it's inevitable that she learns some things about being in the lane that she's in. And trust me when I say there are certain things that I even take on as personal lesson with how certain things are carried out. We do have to get back to the grassroots. As a matter of fact, we have to get below. We have to get below the forest bed because the trees are dying. And yes, I am speaking in metaphorical terms. The trees are dying. The roots are being severed and the trees are dying. Money don't fix everything. I digress. The conversation about this presidency being on his bucket list got me to thinking. It propelled me into a thought. And before I get into that, I'm going to need you to stand by for just a moment. Just stand by for a moment. All right, all right. Okay, so the intro to personal developmental bucket list. Not your average bucket list, even though, as with any bucket list, you can do whatever you want to do. You can put whatever you want to put on it. But if I may offer up some guidelines, it being an intrapersonal developmental bucket list, it would be nice if it contained um, the pro personal, the things that help you if you are into this, okay? If you if you don't have a problem with your if you have no problems with a hard break between your personal life and your professional life, so be it. Because there are some that have taken up the social conditioning that their personal life should remain separate from their professional life. I get it. But there are some that want and seek to beautifully blend the two, especially those that are um, founders of homestead businesses that have their studios inside the home, their offices, their garages transposed and transformed. Those types of folks are the ones that I am mainly talking to. So your intra-personal developmental bucket list ought to have more of the things that will allow you to blur those, if not completely erase, so that your personal and your professional may ebb and flow, that it can become more of a situation of fluidity than blocks and boxes. And trust me when I say this does not mean that there are no scheduling and no boundaries and no respectful reciprocity and stuff like that. Let's not get that twisted, please. You will still have to do diligently be devoted to when you work and you work, and when you're home, you're home. Conversations like the one that me and JoJo had yesterday, even though it was with family, the content and what was being discussed easily flows into my professional life as I am also having these levels and qualities of conversations with those that easily fit as clients or scholars or fellow coaches. So, inside our homework, once we have discovered what our life path calculation is, our life path number, we have extracted the resonating information from the summary, and we have went and we've listened to the songversation selection that is matched to our life path archetype, as if the divine is speaking to us, that there's messages waiting for us, specifically waiting for us. There are bits and pieces of the future me inside of each day, and the things that help it m- absorb. Yeah, I use absorb. The tools, the techniques, or the encounters, the conversations that allow the bits and pieces of the newer me to absorb into the existing me is in a successive nature. one piece attaches to the next piece, attaches to the next piece. And then each and every day, through certain mediums and avenues and efforts and experiences, I uncover. I sometimes wonder about all the pieces of me that were not able to um, become absorbed just because I didn't have the knowledge of that's where I should have looked. Okay, funny sidebar, real quick. Okay, so my baby sister and I went to the grocery store, and so she bought a carton of strawberries. And somehow along the way, over the next few days after her putting them in the refrigerator, both of us lost track of it. Like, okay. And when I say lost track of it, meaning the indication to, oh, there's strawberries in the refrigerator, it didn't pop up. But when she did go to look for them, she couldn't find them. She had no idea where they were. A day or two ago, we were having all sorts of I'll just say family events where my stepmom was, and let me just say this, my stepmom, she cooks her ass off, so many will ask her to fix different things for different occasions. So she had three situations back to back. With that being said, many of the things in the refrigerator had to be rearranged or restocked, all depending on what it is that she needed to have refrigerated. So these strawberries make their way to the front line. They were tucked under the that second shelf way in the back, and you know when things are in front of that, if you not really like taking things out of the refrigerator, yeah, the carton can easily get lost, which it did. But because of all the shuffling that was going on, it made its way to the front. But by that time, they were no more good. And I saw them once they made it to the front. I'm like, wait. And what makes it so remarkable is that it was just a week before I was telling her, when you buy fresh fruit, you gotta eat it. Like it does not last like it used to. Like you have to eat it or it will go bad. So when I saw the carton and I opened it up and realized had no strawberries been eaten out of it and they were already shriveled up, I said, I just told her she need to eat the stuff up. Like, what is the deal? Like, strawberries ain't cheap. Like, you can't just leave them in there and let them go bad. What was the point in buying them? So on Saturday, me and her happened to have a conversation, and the strawberries come up, and she's like, "Oh my gosh!" So I just found the strawberries, and they ain't no good. So like, I thought you had eaten them because I couldn't find them; they were all gone. She was like, "So I just figured, because I was saying like fresh fruit can't last." She was like, "So I was just figured that you ate them." And I was like, that's funny because when I saw them and saw they went bad, I was like, I just told her little ass she need to go and eat up this fruit. Now, with all of that being said, that works. So that works like such a prime example of what I mean when I say that because I have this specialty of self study, I am finding strawberries of myself, specifically because I know where to look, specifically because I am now in the habit of pulling just about everything out of the refrigerator. Have I mastered it? No. No. we still dealing with this thing called unpredictability. We're still dealing within the realms of golden chaos. We're dealing within the realms of the thing called the butterfly effect. So I will only deal with things that I can and put a tickler on the things that I cannot. So the 7 habits of highly effective people, habits 2, 4, and 5. So habit 2 is begin with the end in mind. Habit number 4 is think win-win. Habit number 5 is the first seek to understand and then to be understood. Jojo broke down the mannerisms of the Breakfast Club in the triangular view of Envy, Charlemagne, and Angela. It was such a beautiful uh, viewpoint. I hadn't looked at it that way. So much so that he didn't convince me, but the portion of the conversation itself convinced me to give Breakfast Club another chance. I think viewing it from this particular perspective will allow me to seek out that which is hidden. And I don't mean hidden as in conspiracy type shit. No, I mean hidden as in how their chemistries reinforce certain things all depending on the guest. And so by that angle, I think I'm able to step back into the Breakfast Club arena as a spectator. And I thought I'd just drop that in there. But beginning with the end in mind, so the notebook that I had given him for him to jot down his notes while he explored the richest man in Babylon, as well as give some type of critical analysis to the present presidency, as well as giving an understanding into certain characteristics personally and emotionally. I had him begin at the back of the notebook. Most of the time when we open up a notebook, we want to start writing on the first page. I had him flip all the way to the back and start writing on the very last page, and he's going to work his way to the beginning. This is to include all that he finds out about post traumatic slave syndrome only from the work guide. We're beginning with the end in mind. So I also had him start with the study guide versus the actual book. My philosophy is if he becomes familiar with the study guide, then by the time he gets ready to tackle the book itself, it'll flow a little better because he will have the impressions, the infusions gathered from the study guide already at his disposal. Sort of like the conductor, if you will. And I'm telling you all of this because I also believe that within our journey to heartfulness, to be able to contemplate and ponder some of these things, and not, this is just going to be a slight sidebar a little bit, not necessarily that you're looking to self-study um, when you go on this research and development adventure like what JoJo was on, but the understanding that you will gather from pondering search situations and circumstances and people and places may be news you can use. Yes? I have just a few personal suggestions or invitations with regards to one's intrapersonal personal developing bucket list. Levenger, is the time of the year is for Levenger. Levenger.com. Levenger. Levenger.com. As well as daydesigner.com and mountainroseherbs.com. Herbs with an S. Herbs.com. So, in closing, I have crafted this little saying. It's more of a sentimental slingshot, is what it is. David versus Goliath. And so when I read this, I'll preface it like this. Inside the inner city and the urban corridors, uh, the places where I have grown up, there's a saying that floats around: work the shit out you. Whether it is work or somebody trying to pull a fast one on you, it can show up in a sentence or it can show up in conversation a multitude of ways. I got to reflecting and thinking about the primary focal points of me and JoJo's conversation yesterday and how it resonates with many of the conversations me and my sons, mainly my oldest son, that we've had. Definitely some countless conversations me and my daughter have had. Um, about the social structure, about the strata itself. And I'm getting out of saying, quote unquote, they doing this, they doing that. I can't say that I've completely stopped, but I am using it less and less and beginning to look at certain things as an energy conduit, regardless of how complex or elaborate it is. It is a conduit for energy that has been invested purposely, by design, or even by accident. Only if you feed it will it grow. There are certain things that we literally can take our attention away from and it will wither and die. And that's universally across the board, regardless of life component. And I'm not just talking about um, physical, immediate contact attention. No, I'm talking about that what you think about. When you think about it, you give life energy to it in the invisible spaces, ultimately giving it life. You give it existence through your thought power. It magnifies when you talk about it. And I know that was confirmation for somebody. Don't know who it was for, could just be for me. There are certain relationships that I know for a fact that I am connected to that are still being nourished because I provide loving, caring, protective style thoughts towards them. So, with that said, for the sake of continuity, we will exchange the word for they and just call it it. It will work the shit out you. It will spend the shit out of you. It will medicate the shit out of you. It will feed the shit out of you. Then it will capture your shit and study some of it and then use the rest of it as fertilizer to grow even more food so that it may endorse the franchises and the foundations for the campaign called Dining Out. Because surely, if they can control what you eat, they can control what it is that you'll go and get medicated for. It will control the shit out of you to put it back in you to fertilize you. And the cycle continues and continues and continues. And it will ride the fucking wheels until they fall off and then they will bury you. I'm going to end it there. Just in my mind, it just said end it there. Like some of this stuff just not for YouTube TV. But I think that was good enough. I think that was good enough. You get the point, especially if you rocking with me this long, you get the point. You get the point. I'll say Ashe. So thank you. Thank you so much for hanging with me. I will put in this shameless plug to say that the pilot enlistment is open for any who may be um, interested in this 7 week A synonymous course, which means it's a self study. You do not have deadlines, and you do have assignments, and you do have reading, you have research and development, but you don't have to turn in anything at any given time. And the pilot enlistment also includes 2 live conversations with me per week, as well as written commentary and summaries that involves your involvement and unfoldment with it. It's 7 weeks, meaning that you will get 7 weeks worth of content, but it may take you 14 weeks to cover it all. Once I hone into the obligation to send you 7 weeks worth of content, I've served you the promissory realm of the learning experience. It is then up to you to circle back. Email communication is ongoing. Um, the 2 live conversations must be pre-scheduled, and enlisting as a pilot mean that all the material is complimentary in exchange for an official review of the content and your learning experience once you've completed it, or actually as you're going through it, to tell you the truth. Also, we are in the midst of the 22-week Fool's Journey with Divinely Feminine. If you are interested in joining it, I think, like I said in last installment, we are in week 6. We are in week 6. Um, there is no obligation, there is no sign up, there is no enlistment. Actually, you just not just, but you have the freedom to go on her YouTube page and just check it out. She has it all nice and neatly bundled in playlists, so you can just go and check it out. especially if you're looking to sharpen your sword, your vocabulary inside this thing called astro artistry. So that's a real live resource, real time resource that can uh, walk with you through this journey, that will also give you insight to some of the things I speak about, as well as some of the things that will be unraveling as you just walk this journey. And I will say, as a friendly reminder, to please be patient with the evolutionary ability, capability of your learning experience. This is not conventional university. Self does nothing in haste. Nothing. If you would even look at the rhythm of the seasons and how they change, and inside certain cycles within those seasons, nothing is done in haste. Nothing. And as we ebb and flow with certain energies, everything is unpredictable, and you have to begin. We have to begin doing a better job with cultivating our lives to handle that element of unpredictability. We've been driven to the ground with this mindset about routine and scheduling and, yeah, all of these planned, packed principles. Asynchronous. And I honestly am leaving it up to the divine to be the driver for anyone who enrolls. That you will enlist and never lose the intent to visit with it, but allow your intuition to be your instructor. And so when the intuition comes in to say, schedule a session with Coach TC, go to the library and research this, go visit so and so and have a conversation and see if any of this pops up, or see what they have to say about this, that, and the third. I'm hoping, I really am, I am leaving that portion of our learning maturity in the hands of this thing called divine timing, divine intervention. Divine intervention does not just show up to clean up our messes or keep us from being like bummed out, banged up. If we invite it, it will actually show up to usher in certain serendipitous moments that rightfully belong to us, that put us on the path because they know we are seeking bits and pieces of ourselves within each day. They will align us, they will navigate us. They'll become our invisible Alexa, if you will. So, with all of that said, let's remember that Saturn goes direct on Wednesday. This is especially for my Sea Goat squad, which means you have Capricorn somewhere in your chart. Look that up if you feel compelled to. Find out where Saturn is in your chart and get a better understanding of how to navigate this force once this powerful planet returns direct. With that said, this is the official conclusion of this installment. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you well.